Hi, my name is Brad Dumont, and I'm the Artistic Operations Manager here at Emmanuel Music, and I'm excited to be talking to Ryan Turner, our Artistic Director, about some of the Zender Winterreise and the Schubert that we just got a chance to hear a dress rehearsal for in this room here at the Goethe-Institut. So Ryan, I think the first question for you is if you could just tell us a little bit about your first experience with this piece. And I know that's an unscripted question, but when was the first time you experienced the Zender and the Schubert? How did you come to these pieces?
Well, I came to the Schubert as a young tenor in college and learning bits of what seemed like a behemoth and overwhelming song cycle that also felt like a piece that I could never even imagine encountering until I was an old man, or with gray hair, the Der Greise Kopf, which is one of the songs. And so I kind of dabbled in it as a singer and never sang the whole thing because it seemed just like too big of a masterwork to encounter. And a couple of years ago, it was actually Michael Beatty that turned me on to this Zender arrangement.
Yeah.
And I listened to a snippet of, there's a great video out there of Sir Simon Rattle in rehearsal with Alan Clayton and a sort of Academy Orchestra. And I found it incredibly compelling because of the way it drew me into these well-known songs in a brand new way.
Yeah, so if we don't know that Zender, is it the same musical material as the Schubert? What has he done with it? Because I know he doesn't call it an arrangement, he calls it something else. So what does he do to this work to make it his?
Yeah, he calls it a composed interpretation. And all 24 songs, their melodic structure, the order, the through line, the big arcing narrative are completely intact. And I actually think that's part of the brilliance of it. So it's recomposed and arranged with a 25-piece chamber orchestra with some very interesting and unsuspecting instruments. You'll encounter accordions, melodicas, wind machines, rain machines, a guitar, some very extended techniques in terms, especially with the strings, using the wood of the bow, and at one point the strings even use a pick, like a plectrum, like a guitar player would. So the sound world is completely engaging, if sometimes even kind of on the nose, as it depicts like the frozen ice. It has this feeling of like, the Vivaldi winter that depicts the frozenness of the. But what Zender does is it's like he reflects and refracts light through this piece, and he distorts and contorts some things. Some things are completely intact, and you have all these simple, relatively simple, sort of like almost folk-like melodies of Schubert set against this turbulent orchestration, which I think is part of the genius of the piece, is that we hear these two worlds collide and we hear it in a totally different way.
Yeah, and he's building a theatricality in the soundscape. There's like layers of sound. He's got text painting in the orchestration, and but there's visual elements too, right? He's given a lot of information. What is some of the look and feel that the audience is going to experience in this?
Well, I mean, some of what you'll see, which is really interesting, I think, is when you see our bassoon player playing a melodica. Never would expect that. And you see, we're not used to seeing accordions at Emmanuel concerts or guitars necessarily. But there's also, in the score, Zender specifically notates when musicians should wander in and wander out. Sometimes they'll be playing in the audience. There are two offstage orchestras. I think just the visual element of seeing somebody hold up a rain stick, two of them at one point, where there's this, this sort of pictorial representation of the weather.
Yeah. Have you, thinking about our guest artist who's coming in, Nick Pan, I don't think you've gotten a chance to hear him do this before, right? This is going to be, yeah. So this is exciting because it's new for him, it's new for us. What's exciting to you about collaborating with Nick, and especially him returning to Emmanuel Music, because we've seen him before? What's at top of mind as you approach this collaboration and dig into this work together?
Well, I think Nick is perhaps the most ideal singer for this project. I think he's one of America's finest art song singers that we currently have. And he's really good on stage, and he does opera, and he brings these worlds together. Plus, he's one of the best Bach singers we have in the country now as well. So Nick sort of embodies so much about what we do at Emmanuel, that works well and that we really embrace. And as a human being, he's one of the most generous artists that I've ever worked with. Even the little bit of time we spent together in the Goethe-Institut, it was about 2 years ago, we really hit it off, and I'm very excited to see what he brings to this.
Yeah, it's going to be great to do this, especially I think to do it at the Tufts space at Distler Hall. For me, the look and feel of that room, everyone is in a spot where they can see the stage, they can see Nick. We're going to have the super titles so you can follow along with the translation all the way through. Is there anything about the space that is exciting to you and bringing this to the audience? Anything that's like about the acoustics that's sparking you?
Well, I think Distler Hall has what I would call an honest, immediate acoustic, and there's also the intimacy of the space that I feel like for everyone, they will feel as though Nick you're having a personal conversation in a way.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're on this grand stage. That intimacy, I think, is great for making this work come to life.
Yeah. So last question, I think. What does this piece mean for us right now, for manual music to be performing at this? Why is this piece relevant? Especially thinking about it paired with the Schubert this week and sitting in the context of our greater season. What is this for us at Emmanuel Music?
So much of the work we do at Emmanuel is in dialogue with the past. When I think about like our motet commissioning project, where we have contemporary works that are posthumously in dialogue with the music of Bach. And this is a piece that's sort of in dialogue with itself. I mean, the Winterreise was written in 1828. Zender wrote this in 93. And in a way, everything you hear is a representation of everything that's happened in music since 1828 to 1993.
Yeah.
And I think what Zender does, it's not like he's not putting a mustache on the Mona Lisa. He's creating a new artwork out of an amazing artwork. And he's bringing new light to it. And I think one of the things that is brilliant about this piece is that for many, German lieder, I think, is abstract and is not something that they want to encounter. And I think Zender opens up a new light, a new way of access into this music that I hope opens it up to new audiences as well.
And do you need to have heard the Schubert to hear the Zender?
You most definitely do not need to have heard the Schubert
Yeah.
before. I mean, again, it's the same text, it's the same melodies,
Yeah.
it's the same journey, if not heightened because of the instrumentations and how the orchestra plays is like another character. And so much of the Winterreise is the protagonist in dialogue with nature. I was just talking with David Tenervia about this, and he was saying he feels like this love lost that this whole story is about may not have been real. It may have been something imagined in the poet's mind. And now when you have 25 people on the journey with you, there's a whole new dramatic element that opens up.
Awesome. Well, really exciting to see and hear this. Looking forward to the concerts this week.
Thank you.